In October 1994, a small South Carolina town was shaken by a story that seemed almost too horrific to comprehend. A young mother claimed her two little boys had been kidnapped. She stood before cameras, her voice trembling, her face streaked with tears. She begged for their safe return. The nation watched. Her name was SusanSmith. At first, she appeared heartbroken, devastated, desperate. She told police that a black man had carjacked her vehicle with her two sons strapped inside their car seats. The image was haunting. Two small children, alone, taken by a stranger. The community mobilized immediately. Volunteers searched wooded areas and rural roads. Boats scanned nearby lakes. Officers followed every possible lead. Television networks covered the story around the clock. America saw a grieving mother pleading into the lens of every camera. But as days passed, something felt off. Investigators began to notice inconsistencies in Susan's timeline. Small details shifted, descriptions changed. Witnesses reported sightings that didn't align with her version of events. Her emotional appeals continued, but behind the scenes, detectives were quietly piecing together a different narrative. 9 days after the reported carjacking, the truth surfaced. It wasn't a stranger. There was no carjacking. There was no abduction. SusanSmith had rolled her car into a lake, with her two young sons strapped inside. The revelation stunned the nation. Search teams who had worked tirelessly were devastated. A community that had rallied behind her felt betrayed. But the questions didn't stop there. Why? Why would a mother harm her own children? As the investigation unfolded, a motive emerged. Not one of desperation in the moment, but of personal desire. Susan had been involved in a romantic relationship. A man who reportedly did not want children. According to prosecutors, she believed her children were standing in the way of the life she wanted. The trial that followed drew intense media attention. Courtrooms were filled. Television crews lined the sidewalks. Prosecutors argued it was a calculated act, a deliberate decision, followed by a calculated lie. The defense attempted to portray her as emotionally unstable, overwhelmed, struggling internally. But for many, the damage was already done. In July 1995, SusanSmith was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. The case left behind more than headlines. It left behind grief. It forced a community to confront an unthinkable truth that sometimes the greatest danger does not come from strangers, but from those we trust most. Even decades later, the name SusanSmith still echoes in true crime history, not just because of the crime, but because of the deception, because of the tears broadcast across a nation, because evil in this case did not look monstrous, it looked like a grieving mother, and that is what made it so chilling.